Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of The Committee Reads. I'm your host, Kaiju X, and with me today I have Greyshot, GVR, and Nagoda. And today we will be going over Match 178, Mechagodzilla Heisei vs. Kumasogami by Joshua Reynolds. Crimson rain fell from the darkened skies. The streets of Tokyo had become flooded with blood. Blood! Across the entire city, thousands flocked. They had been fooled by a creature, a demon of unknown power and origins. In the cockpit of the machine, a young man sat in silence. He had been in this position before. Only before, his opponents had been generic monsters. Kamibas, Manda, Maguma, Rodan. He had faced them all, not in any matches leading up to this. Some he had killed, others simply retreated. But now, since the devil had come and brought hell upon the world, Jason Isaac? Is that how you pronounce that? Isaac? I'm going with Isaac. Jason Isaac had come to believe that
I think it's Isaac.
Oh,
I think that's a reference to like Dead Space.
Oh, that would
is it that like an? Do you try to come up with like Isaac?
Oh, really? Okay, I never played.
I don't know. I'm guessing here because like when I think horror, I think there is Isaac, which is from Dead Space.
Okay.
I have no clue.
That's spelled normally.
Okay. If it's Isaac, then I'll say Isaac. Okay. Jason Isaac had come to believe that he and G-Force had made a tremendous mistake. Perhaps the monsters they had been wiping out were a sort of natural defense against such evil. Perhaps if humanity had been in such a rush to destroy what they didn't understand, then the evil they face right now wouldn't have had the time to grow so deadly right under their noses. Perhaps if G-Force didn't kill Godzilla, somehow, miraculously, then Kumasogami would have been destroyed already. Kumasogami. It took G-Force over a year to fully understand what they were up against this time. And in that year, its power grew tenfold. It was once the god of Kumaso, an ancient kingdom in Japan centuries ago. Legend says the warrior of the gods vanquished it. Only now it has returned. And returned with a vengeance, heralded into this world by a cult that believed it to be the true god. With its resurgence, Mount Fuji became active again, and completely wiped smaller communities around it off the face of the earth, which each soul destroyed. Kumasogami grew more powerful. Oh my gosh. G-Force intervened when it became large enough to become a kaiju threat. Mogera was deployed and destroyed. Should have gotten it when it was smaller. Kiryu followed suit. Now Mechagodzilla was humanity's last stand against the evil that could enslave the population. Jason sighed, remembering the brutal war in which humanity destroyed Godzilla. Now, ironically, he stood poised to save the world in a machine modeled after the nuclear menace, and he found himself wishing Godzilla was here. Well, stop magically killing him off! A crack of lightning broke his thoughts. Thunder followed. Thunder so powerful and loud that windows in surrounding structures shattered. There we go. The crimson rain fell harder, pounding in the advanced armor of the mechanical Sauri with the force of a hurricane. Come on out wherever you are. I don't know what to give this voice to give this character. Jason spat, gripping the controls of his robot. If you want this planet, you need to go through me. Alright, cowboy.
The edge.
Yeah. The mechanical titan stepped forward, its yellow glowing eyes scanning the environment. He could see dozens, if not hundreds, standing on top of roofs. They were chanting, but not for Mechagodzilla. With the biblical plagues that came with Kumasogami, they've actually begun to believe it is a god. Jason shook his head. Fools! I'm sorry, I'm just... okay. Even if he believed in God before, he questioned how anyone could believe such blatant evil should be worshipped. Come out, devil. Let me expose what we both already know. You're not a god. You're just a monster, and I'll put you down. I'm sorry, this dialogue is not great.
It's so just like 90s edge.
It is. It's like 90s. That's like something out of the 90s. Mechagodzilla scanned the city again. I know you're here.
This is dialogue from the Doom movie.
Then
Just
suddenly,
need some Doom music playing.
then suddenly something answered back. It spoke directly into his mind. And we know you're here. Oh my gosh, no. How did I let this pass? Oh my gosh. Oh, good lord.
I think that early on, when we had writers like submitting stuff, I think Tom, but I think I would say that Josh was the one that pushed the limits in regards to character use.
Oh yeah, definitely. Jason's brow lifted. A shiver was sent down his spine. The controls of the weapon began to sputter. The computer screen flashed. We'll swallow your soul. Oh my god. Who are you? The lights in the cockpit became extinguished. The generators died. Jason began to feel the various switches, trying to reboot the systems to no luck. A faint glow came from several feet in front of him. It began to glow brighter and larger, expanding into arms, legs, and a head. It was vaguely human. You humans brought us back to this world. From Amaterasu to this modern world of science, your blood will feed us. Jason remained vigilant. He struggled with what he saw of the ghostly apparition. He swallowed, forcing himself to fight fear. I will give you so much blood that you will drown in it. Go to hell.
Wait, from Amaterasu to this modern world, what does Amaterasu have to do with anything?
I assume I guess I don't know. I guess from heavens to the modern world, which I don't even get what that.
Isn't Susano the one in charge of the underworld in Yamato Takeru?
It was Tsukiyomi, then Susano, but Amaterasu ruled heaven. So I assume it's just from heaven to the modern world. I assume.
Yeah.
Amaterasu is the sun.
Right, but like also heaven, heaven, sun, same difference.
I don't think MM watched the movie.
No, I don't think he did either. He just read Tom's matches. Was like, that's kind of cool.
No one watched Yamato Takeru until like Kaiju X.
Yeah,
That's all I can assume.
Most people, they get their Yamato Takeru knowledge from older KWCs until Kaiju X watched the movie and revamped everything.
Yeah.
Hope Kaiju X was brave enough one day to actually watch the movie.
Oh no, I always loved the movie. You'll have to fear for my soul when I do Gunhead.
No, we're gonna fear for your soul when you have to remaster this match.
Oh my gosh. That's great. The vision, the featureless shape of a ghostly human tilted its head. Sometimes hell comes to you. The entity vanished into thin air, allowing the lights within Mechagodzilla's controls to come back online. Jason gripped the controls tightly, ready for whatever was coming. Warning lights flashed as the heated blood rain fell. It boiled and sizzled on the armor. Balls of fire joined it, smashing into the flooded streets and structures. Those on rooftops were slain by the very evil they thought was divine, either burned by the sizzling blood or destroyed by the fiery orbs that fell. Giant plumes of fire sprouted around the city as the ground shook. A massive fracture appeared, acting like a drain. It swallowed up the blood that had filled entire city blocks. Pass.
A robotic voice began to repeat in the cockpit. Kaiju detected. Kaiju detected. Kaiju detected. Jason grinned. Finally, you show up. A colossus emerged from the heart of the fracture. The flames split like the Red Sea. A demon, straight out of hell, spread its arms. On its back, a pair of wing-like appendages grew. Its jaws parted, releasing a grotesque sound. Its eye, a weird three-pointed shape, burned brighter than the sun. Kumasogami emerged for a fight, the final fight that would determine the fate of the human race. You're right. Sometimes hell comes to you. Let me show you exactly how that works. Jason spat as if the demon could hear him from within the controls of Mechagodzilla. The glowing eyes of the machine surged with power. Its jaws opened wide, revealing a golden light. Then, together, the optic beams and Mega Buster launched. The beams cut a path through the raining blood and fire. They smashed into Kumasogami's chest, pushing the demonic thing back. It crashed through several structures, sending the buildings crumbling into dust. The demon wailed, bringing up its arms. Each one shifted, expanding into circular shields. It braced itself and pushed forward, allowing the beams to detonate repeatedly on the shields. Mechagodzilla advanced, so did Kumasogami. In its assault, Mechagodzilla roared. Kumasogami's shield arms flung to the side, each one morphing into twisted, serrated swords. The demon swung, smashing one of them into Mechagodzilla's chest. The armor sparked, making the robot stumble back. Its other sword thrust forward, bouncing off of Mechagodzilla's belly and leaving a dent on the advanced NT-20 diamond armor. Mechagodzilla fired point blank with its eye beams, blasting Kumasogami's head off. Head.
Winner, Mechagodzilla.
God, I wish. The fiend fell back, groaning as it fell. Using fell twice in one sentence? Good writing there. No sooner than it did, its legs swept to the sides. It kicked Mechagodzilla's feet out from underneath it. The robot fell to the side, smashing into a surrounding building. The machine growled as it lay next to the demon. Instantly, Kumasogami swung down with a sword. It smashed into Mechagodzilla's neck, causing its aural lights to flash and spark. Its head rotated, facing the demon as it sat up. A blast of the Mega Buster fired, striking the devil's side before it could completely stand. The beast flew back, falling into another series of smaller buildings. The boosters on Mechagodzilla's back and feet kicked to life. It lifted off the ground and into the air for several dozen meters. It righted itself and dropped to a standing position. Its mouth and eyes flashed again. It opened fire on where the devil had fallen, blasting the area with beams. In addition, its shoulders launched rockets, emptying its ammunition. A colossal explosion expanded like a blossoming flower. Large chunks of burning debris flew through the air, mixing with the blood and fireballs that fell onto the battlefield. Several objects struck Mechagodzilla's flank. They detonated like rockets, making it stagger. Mechagodzilla fell to a knee as another volley impacted it. Its head rotated to the side, just in time to see Kumasogami launch another round of explosive arrows from its transformed hands, now in the shape of a bow and arrows. The robot's eyes fired, shooting the arrows out of the air. Two of the three of them detonated in midair, but the third hit the machine's face. Its head flung back, its left optics popping out of its socket. The marvelous machine staggered, nearly falling into the ruins of a demolished building. Its remaining eye fired wildly, cutting paths of destruction into the city as its body spun uncontrollably. Lowering its form, Kumasogami charged. It kept its body just low enough to allow the random beams to pass overhead, and then it collided like a raging bull, wrapping its arms around Mechagodzilla's midsection. It pushed the robot back, bulldozing mankind's last resort through another line of structures. Massive balls of fire sprang up in their wake as Kumasogami continued to dive. To push. Dive? Why? The machine's leg began to give. It dropped to a knee, causing the demon to cease its rush. Knee-deep in rubble, Mechagodzilla's head hung low as it seemed to bow to the hellspawn. From the violence, Jason had banged his head against parts of the cockpit. He's in a seatbelt.
I guess he didn't strap in.
A trickle of blood rolled down his blue eyes and right cheek. He groaned, shaking his head as he looked through the live feed of Mechagodzilla's remaining eye. Kumasogami loomed over it, both hands extending into swords. It lifted the weapons over its head, ready to cleave Mechagodzilla's torso. And then he saw it. Kumasogami loomed over him. Behind the demon, Tokyo Tower loomed over it. Mechagodzilla lifted its arms. Instead of blocking the dropping swords from its wrist, the famous G-Crushers launched. The cables, notorious for being the weapons that ended Godzilla's life, flew past Kumasogami's head. They clanged around the metal frame of Tokyo Tower, locking into position after wrapping around the structure. At the same time, Kumasogami's swords fell in a swift motion. One dropped into Mechagodzilla's shoulder, cutting deep into the armor. The other struck the left arm, cutting it off at the elbow. Sprays of spark and smoke gathered from the wounds. Immediately, deafening alarm sounded in the cockpit. The demon raised its blades, allowing the severed arm to drop to the uprooted streets. With his other arm, Mechagodzilla yanked. The tower buckled but refused to collapse. Jason could tell the demon was mere seconds away from another strike that would surely end the war. His mouth parted, firing the Mega Buster just as its arm pulled again. The beam hit its mark, blasting just over 70 meters from the structure's base. A piece of it flew in every direction as the G-Crusher cable pulled it in their direction. A grin crossed Jason's face. Pass to Gray Shot, who I realize now that I took over for him as the second late reader.
You did. I was curious on that, but I understand you really wanted to read. So
no, sorry. Like I'm used to the previous ones where I was second.
All good. Kumasogami turned its head just in time to see it. Tokyo Tower fell like the world's largest tree. The demon lifted its arms to protect it, but the structure was horrendously huge. It came down on both of the fighters. A deafening boom echoed throughout the distant metropolis. Every standing structure around the pair caved, falling into the earth as a wall of smoke, fire, and dust spread for over a mile. Jason's eyes remained closed. He thought he was dead, but more warnings came from the weapon. Warning, reaching terminal velocity, reaching terminal velocity, reaching terminal velocity, warning. He opened his eyes and shook his head. He and Kumasogami were falling, along with tons upon tons of rubble. The impact of Tokyo Tower had shattered the ground. Beneath them, Jason could see a burning glow. On the ground far below, it appeared entities were moving about. He activated Mechagodzilla's boosters, allowing the machine's descent to slow. The demon continued to spiral uncontrollably, falling into the glow. Where the hell? A voice from before answered him, speaking directly into his mind with a sadistic hiss. Exactly. Machine landed after several minutes. Jason scanned the area. It was rocky and barren. Vast lakes of boiling lava bubbled. Creatures of various sizes scattered around like insects. They seemed to hate one another, committing unspeakable acts against the smaller entities. Some of them began to cling to Mechagodzilla's feet like ants, trying to claw through the advanced armor. The robot's head looked up. There was no sky, just darkness, and in that darkness a tiny hole which had been broken apart. This is hell. Warning, fuel low, fuel low, fuel low, warning. Jason sighed. The battle and the descent here had devoured Mechagodzilla's fuel supplies. The machine was running on empty. Kumasogami's unmistakable war cry pierced the volcanic landscape of hell. Jason's thoughts of escape were brought back to the fight as the demon emerged from a sea of molten rock. The demon was horribly wounded, half of its face crushed and an arm twisted into a mangled shape. It tried to transform the sword into a new weapon, but it refused to move. It hung uselessly, its other hand twisted and morphed, becoming a roundish shape and glowing triangular spikes. The demon lunged with its new mace. Jason tried firing the I-beam, but only a flash of light followed. It no longer had sufficient fuel. The blow from the weapon came hard, striking Mechagodzilla's jaw. In a single hit, the jaw shattered like glass. It flew off into the distance, a trail of circuitry and metal teeth following behind it. Another impact crushed its throat. Jason tried making it back up, but Mechagodzilla didn't move. Instead, it fell back. It fell. It fell back first into the sea of lava. The molten material swallowed it up. Quickly, the cockpit began to heat up. Jason wanted to scream as the temperature rapidly increased. Magma flooded the open wounds, and it would be only a matter of time until it reached the cockpit. Power refueling. Power refueling. Power refueling. Those words from Mechagodzilla's systems brought him back yet again. His head tilted as all lights returned to the machine. The NT-20 diamond armor, which had been specifically designed to absorb heat and energy, was feeding off of the lava's temperature. It was converting his heat into power. Warning,
Pass.
armor melting,
Pass.
armor melting.
Pass.
Is it my turn?
Yes. Warning.
To go to melting.
Do I start from the warning part?
Warning. Armor melting. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Warning, armor melting, armor melting, armor melting, warning. Even while it could absorb the heat, this amount of it was starting to work against it already. Mechagodzilla's boosters kicked to life, shooting the machine up through the lava. The machine exploded from the burning depths with a broken roar. Its entire body glowed bright red. Pieces of its armor hung from its limbs like sheets, for the armor had begun to melt. It landed behind Kumasogami, causing the demon to turn. The fiend snarled, lifting its mace, it ready to charge once more, ready to destroy Mechagodzilla once and for all. As you said, Jason declared, tilting his head and moving his hand to another trigger. Sometimes hell comes to you. He squeezed the trigger. Plasma grenade! A circular port on the machine's midsection spiraled open. A flash of golden light was followed by a colossal boom. The ground beneath the beam erupted as a charged particle cannon, as wide as Mechagodzilla is tall, erupted from the cannon.
What?
Okay.
An entire cannon was shot out from a cannon. Wow.
I think it's just
They're
referring to
talking
the
about
beam.
Yeah. Yeah, as wide as he is tall? How?
I don't know.
I guess he's paying homage to like Rodan, because like when Rodan got hit, like his entire body went into like a yellow flash, but it wasn't like the beam
It
was
wasn't
hitting him, it was
this.
just the reflection of the light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the beam wasn't like full Mechagodzilla size. It was still like normal size.
Yeah.
It's a Kamehameha.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. It's like coming overall. Oh lordy.
It hit Kumasogami with the force of nothing it had ever endured before. Its feet lifted off of Hell's landscape and thrown back. Its entire body flipped several times as explosions tore in and out of it. It landed with a thud several hundred yards away from where it once stood. Did he just ragdoll all the way?
I think so.
Oh no, we're not done yet, Jason spat, pressing the trigger once again.
No,
Yet again.
Kumasogami's dead now.
You can't fire the plasma grenade that fast. It has to recharge.
It fired multiple times against Godzilla, and
Oh, yeah,
I
multiple.
remember at least in the first encounter it fired multiple times. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and describing
then
how much energy it pushed out, to be like Gohan, against Cell, using all the energy, and like, okay, round two. It's like,
Right.
The plasma grenade fired for a second time, hitting the twitching demon's side. Its body was pushed across the landscape, digging tremendous trenches in the rocky ground. Its limbs began to fall off, disintegrating into ash in the process. First, its ruined arm, then a leg, then the other leg. By the time the weapon ceased, Kumasogami was nothing more than a torso, a fractured skull, and a broken arm. By now, Mechagodzilla's armor had cooled. It had turned into a lighter shade of orange. You know, by this point, it'd be broken by the movie standards.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right.
It began to approach the defeated Kumasogami. The demon barely moved when the machine reached it. It merely looked up and tried to reach its feet with a fingerless hand. What feet? It doesn't have feet anymore. His legs got disintegrated.
The match is killing Nagoda.
Yeah.
Jason
It's,
had
you
no
know how like people lose their limbs and they still have invisible limbs? That's what Kumasogami's feeling. He's like, I still feel them, I think.
Jason had no remorse. He lifted the robot's leg and dropped it straight onto the demon's head. The brain matter of the demon sprayed across the ground as his face popped from the monstrous stomp.
Brain matter? Wait. Oh.
He's a rock.
He's a rock monster.
Hey, they can have brains of some kind. Obsidius has a crystal as his brain.
But what about earlier when he decapitated him and he was just like, nah, I'm fine. Bro.
Hey, sometimes brains regenerate. Just look at Godzilla, for example.
Godzilla coughs.
Jason breathed a sigh of relief. The plasma grenade had drained much of his power. I mean, of course it did. You used it twice in a row. He didn't know if he had enough to reach the surface again, but he had ended the invasion of Kumasogami. The boosters of the machine activated, slowly carrying the robot upward. They still work after being submerged in lava? Like magma, I mean.
Well, it's interesting because there's one or two ways to go about it. Either you can be like, well, Mechagodzilla should be able to like survive in lava because metal has a very high melting temperature.
Yeah.
Or you say it's melted the metal because lava's super hot, but then the thrusters don't work because they're melted.
Right.
Pick one.
Either they're melted or they still have magma covering them.
Or something.
That too. Yeah, lava's not like water. Like lava is still very like thick.
It's rock. It's literal molten rock. It's gonna stick.
Yeah.
The boosters of the machine activated, slowly carrying the robot upward. As he looked up, it seemed as if the crack that had opened into hell was starting to close like a mouth. He didn't know if he would reach it. He pressed another switch, turning communications back on with his superior officers. Those still work too?
Of course.
Something he hadn't done since he stole Mechagodzilla to do this himself. After all, it was he who... Hey, if terrorists can take Mechagodzilla in one match, so can a guy trying to save the world.
Oh yeah, I forgot in MM's world you can just walk up to a mech and get in there and pilot it.
So did he kill? Remember how they mentioned he killed like Rodan and Camebis and all those? Were those just like random monsters that he found? Like, okay, taking this thing on a joyride. Need to go do some practice runs.
No kidding.
Shooting cans, except
I mean, that's what Yuki did in the Space Godzilla manga. He got caught by the Shobijin and decided, I'm gonna steal this mech, and then just drove it off to go fight Godzilla. After all, it was he who helped bring Kumasogami to Earth. It was he who helped partake in those ancient ceremonies that he and his friends thought were just drunken myths. Wait, he summoned Kumasogami?
Wait, what?
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 Writing tip number 7. Backload your story with all the information.
Yeah.
What ancient ceremonies were they doing? Were they gonna sacrifice someone to a pit of lava?
What is this?
In the
I
Cosmo
mean,
Kingdom?
if Sukanoa can summon him, technically, if anyone just performs the same feat, you just shift the feet, do a little twirl of the hands.
You gotta have someone dancing. You gotta have a whole bunch of people dancing. Gotta choose the best one. Gotta send one into a pit with a lava pool with a wood gate.
Make sure it's Thriller by Michael Jackson to really get
just the usual things. To Commander Assel, Commander Assel's alive,
Sure.
and anyone else listening, Kumasogami is dead. I repeat, Kumasogami is dead. Jason closed his eyes as he realized there was no way he could reach the opening of hell before it fully closed. And so too am I. I am sorry for what I helped bring upon this world. He turned off the boosters, allowing Mechagodzilla to fall. But as long as I am down here, maybe I can prevent it from happening again. Mechagodzilla plummeted back into the boiling lava. This is Jason Isaac. Isaac?
Isaac.
Isaac. And I have just come to hell to become the Doomslayer, apparently. Winner, Mechagodzilla Heisei.
Oh my gosh. This smash was a freaking laugh. Oh lordy. Very good. Oh my god. I think I had more fun with this just due to it. Like I cannot take like this kind of story like seriously at all. And it's just so like it feels like a 90s comic book or a 90s movie. Like edgy like 90s Spawn movie or something. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, like I really enjoy 175. Like that one.
This just needed a soundtrack by Trent Reznor.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh man, but friggin' yeah, like what comparatively speaking to the writer's previous work, like 175 is actually like the only issue I had with it was once I got to Kaisergadora, ironically enough. That I felt like it just kind of like it wasn't awful, but it was still just kind of like yeah. But everything before that though was great. But this though just feels like I don't know. It feels like a joke, if that makes sense. Like even if he was like earnestly trying to be like, oh, you're good, it's like here's this kind of serious thing. It's still it kind of reads like a. I almost want to say it's like a parody, almost. But even then, I'm not sure if it's smart enough to realize that or not. But reading these through, I had the biggest grin because it was so dumb. I won't.
Sometimes hell comes to you. That is a movie tagline.
That is a movie freaking tagline if you ever heard one. At least what I can confirm reading this is that it's not Kumasogami talking. I'm sure it's just like the devil or whatever. So it's like, oh, thank the good Lord he didn't take it that far. But freaking
For the HD remake, you need to make it very clear that it's the God Demon.
Yeah, or something like that, yeah. Or at least something that would have existed by this time period. So even just like a generic, make it more clear on who's speaking, because that is not, like, I could totally understand how people could misinterpret this as Kumasogami speaking, because it is not clear. Oh, man. There's so much that's unclear, like, okay, if Jason was responsible for bringing Kumasogami into the world, why? What was the need? To kill Godzilla? He already killed Godzilla. So it actually makes no sense for him to be like it makes that whole revelation at the end makes absolutely no sense. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me with this.
And maybe they were celebrating and in their drunken stupor they decided we need a new challenge.
You know that's possible. That's actually within the realm of possibility here. Oh my lord. I will say it's like I think I enjoyed. I would say out of the first and the second half, I would say I kind of liked first half being in Tokyo and the second half being in Hell. I will say there are only 2 points that kind of stick out to me, and it's like what I like the first half part where he uses Tokyo Tower to kind of like attack from behind. It was like, well, it's ridiculous, but that's kind of neat. I didn't mind that. What I will say for the second half though is like I kind of like weird. It's definitely inconsistent because it's like, you know, as we pointed out earlier, sort of like if Mechagodzilla is able to withstand the temperatures of hell, then yeah, he'll gain all the. I like the idea that Mechagodzilla gains energy from the magma. That's actually a fun touch, and I kind of enjoy that. But friggin', it's just sort of like. Yeah, it's just the way it's sort of written is generally somewhat weirdly inconsistent when it comes to how the magma's ultimately kind of treated. But I like the idea that it's like, oh yeah, Mechagodzilla uses the magma to power himself up and use, you know, a super powerful plasma grenade. It's like, oh okay, that's fun, that's fine. But friggin', oh yeah, so much of this is just over the top ridiculous, and it's just like, oh yeah.
I think that actually to its benefit. In a way, and I think it might be intentional because based off the names, if it's Isaac, which is a different pronunciation of Isaac, then and Jason is quite clearly Jason, as in the horror slasher, like Jason goes to hell, and it's like, yeah, because like looking back at 175 and seeing the detail, very much makes me think that this was done like very much like with a Doom Slayer. Like Doom isn't like,
Okay, like a
yes, you could say
KWC's
it's
Doom.
but it has like that kind of feel to it. This one just kind of has that kind of that end of the world Demon Slayer kind of feel, but I don't think it takes maybe it's just how we read it, but I don't think it takes itself that seriously considering all that happens.
Yeah, I
Like,
suppose.
It tries to walk the line too much between like being serious and being silly, and it just sort of ends up being like, why?
Oh, right.
yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely
You can tell that he's clearly trying to be like over the top cheesy with some of it, but then like other stuff, he's clearly trying to be like serious.
Yeah, the revelation that he summoned Kumasogami or was like took part in it was a bit. I think kind of was like maybe it's coming full circle. I get that on a narrative level, but like maybe for this it wasn't needed.
Yeah, really wasn't. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's definitely silly. Which I mean, I guess was part of the enjoyment, was because it was like, oh my gosh, the freaking. I mean, yeah, I suppose it is sort of like going for a very specific, again, literally KWC's Doom, is probably the best way we could put it. And it's like, looking at it from that front, it's like, okay. Parts of it lined up a little more, with that in mind. And yeah, you had mentioned the Dead Space reference with Isaac, and I was like, oh, okay.
That is just a guess.
Okay,
I'm guessing,
potential
Isaac, it's spelled like normal Isaac, so I'm guessing he just did it maybe when that said like Isaac, like I'm guessing that's like just a homage, but he didn't want to spell it exactly because saying someone like Jason Isaac is kind of you're really close on those references.
Yeah.
It might have worked better with this. I don't know, but that's my guess on what he's pulling from regards to another horror theme like project.
Right. So that I can. Yeah, no, it's like, it's definitely silly, and I think I enjoy the parts where it's silly, weirdly enough. Like looking back at it now, I'm like, oh. Yeah, no, if this truly wasn't taking itself that seriously, then that's kind of, it definitely explains a lot more of the over-the-top cheesiness. It's like, oh my gosh, we miraculously killed Godzilla. Ah, shit. But frigging, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, unless this is meant to take place where in an alternate universe where they actually did manage to kill Godzilla in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2.
Or something.
Yeah.
Well, which I don't think is the case. I don't think is strictly the case, though. I guess that
they literally say like the G-Crushers killed Godzilla.
That's right. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's just really weird. But yeah,
It's just probably an explanation.
Then why does Mokira exist? Wait, why does Mokira exist?
Right, or Kiryu.
It's probably not the reality where they killed him.
Not in the movie,
maybe.
Probably not.
They also mentioned Rodan and Kamibis and such, so it's probably just a case of alternate reality. All these monsters and whatnot exist somehow.
Yeah, they probably went like, oh yeah, this thing almost worked one time. Let's try it again.
All right.
This time with no Rodan interference.
Right, something like that. This was a freaking. This was like, I can't call it great, but at the same time, I weirdly enjoyed myself, and it was like, bruh.
I will say there, like, in regards to, like, I think the negatives are quite apparent. Like, there's definitely repetitive usage of, like, wording. Like, he's very repetitive in certain areas. Maybe he was, like, rushed on this one for whatever reason. But, yeah, it's repetitive in a lot of areas. The banner is not good. It's quite terrible, I'll be honest. It's got a cool setting, but it just, it just hurts my eyes. It's not good in that respect. I get the idea and the feel. Both, Kumasogami's hard to work with, but it just looks a little bit janky.
Yeah.
The thing I will say though, for the strengths of this match is it's definitely memorable. It's definitely, it's out there. It goes out there. It is not in line with these characters or whatnot, like in regards to the interpretation, but I don't think it's meant to be. I very much think he's like Doom plus how can I get that in the KWC?
Yeah.
Yes, Kumasogami. And with that and the overtop nature, I don't think it's bad, but it's also very much tongue in cheek, and sometimes it misses that mark.
Yeah.
So at the end, I can't say if this is good or bad, but what I can definitely say is it's at least for me one of the most memorable KWCs. Not because I don't think the action or whatnot, but because of it's just general what this match is. Like it's just so weird and out there that it's just if someone reads this in the KWC, it's like, well, that's unlike anything else I've seen like read here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think for the most part I can echo a lot of your sentiments too in regards to like I'm not entirely sure if I like it is hard to forget just like the silliness of it, like just it overall. But and I think that's probably the most memorable part to me is just how overall silly this is. Uh it's still just kind of like yeah, no, I can't call it I definitely can't call it good. I don't think I can call it bad though. It is sort of a really weird like fine line this match rides. The banner, I've always personally had a soft spot for this one. It's definitely jank. I can agree with you on that. Or that can be like, I think that can be agreed on. But I still I don't know. I don't think like Mechagodzilla shirts might be like, oh, pure like all white, no blood on them whatsoever. But friggin' and Kumasogami understandably could be a little difficult to work with, so mildly forgiven. At most, I probably would have at most just a correction in color temperature, like make it more brown instead of blue, and I think I'd probably be fine with it otherwise. But I kind of like the the ruined city, the dust in the background, the black background on top of that too, and the blood rain is like, oh, that I think all that is fine. It's just a couple of modifications to the actual monsters in question. But I think the actual the environment for this is actually like kind of fun. So at least as far as the banner goes, but that's just me. But yeah, no, like, matches. Yeah, this one match is like I only enjoy it for its silliness, but little else. Weirdly enough, but yeah. Other than that, though, it's like yeah, I'm not entirely sure how I completely feel about it, both kind of like critically and personally. Just other than the fact that it was just a silly time, and I was kind of giggling my ass off through all of it. But friggin' yeah. So whether or not it was on purpose or not, I couldn't tell you. But friggin' but yeah, no. Otherwise, though, I get Great Shot. Did you have any other points to elaborate on potentially? Did you feel like you said what you needed to say?
I think pretty much I said what I said. It's a match that's not good nor bad. It feels a little bit rushed in areas. Its tone is not always there, and I don't think its action is anything like super like groundbreaking. But I'll give it this. It's memorable in that respect. And compared to like a lot of KWCs that we go over in regards to like reviewing where we're just like, yeah, it's kind of bland. There's nothing. This one leaves its mark for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And probably a little bit on the edge of better in regards to like just how crazy it is. For me. But I gotta say, reading through this, I am mildly surprised by my take.
Mm-hmm.
It's GVR. Tell me, is this
us.
steaming blood or steaming trash?
I'll start with the banner. I think it looks good for the time, but yeah, like the complete lack of anything on Mechagodzilla sort of is weird. And Kumasogami is like semi-transparent, which looks odd.
It's probably because he's meant to be behind the smoke too, but it is still a little weird.
Yeah. Like the smoke doesn't look like it's in front of him, so just
Right.
Yeah. As for the match itself, like, yeah, I'm not sure like how seriously to take it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is like tongue in cheek, like it's trying to be a bit like cheesy, but I do feel like it goes a bit too like. You need to commit to one direction, either like be full cheesy and stupid, or be like full serious. And this match like walks the line, and that ends up leaving it just sort of feeling like confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, the action's all right, and I did enjoy the thing of like the heat of lava basically charging up the plasma grenade. But then it goes and says like, and then the plasma grenade was as wide as Mechagodzilla is tall.
Bruh.
Yeah, no, I guess I'd say overall the match is good. Well, It's fine. Like, it's not bad. But just, yeah, I don't know. Like, on a technical level, it's fine, but just, I don't know how to, like, properly process, like, the story and what to think about it.
Right. Sort of like critically or whatever. It's like, yeah.
I think we all can agree there are parts that are bad, like him being part of it and just being the realization. It's like, okay, that was unneeded.
Yeah.
That was definitely unneeded.
Oh, yeah, no, like, yeah, the ending was just like, what are you talking about?
Oh, right.
Where, like, his radio somehow works in another dimension.
It's still got the hole, the signal goes out the hole, it's got that,
He was getting close.
And then, like, the throwaway line of just like, yeah, he was part of the issue. Like, what?
How? That makes no sense given the way the character was set up at the start. It was just like, oh, we killed Godzilla, and then a bunch of other assholes woke up Kumasogami, and now without Godzilla, we're kind of screwed.
Mondays, am I right?
Yeah. Did you have anything else to elaborate on, GVR? You good?
Nope.
Okay, Nagoda, what'd you think of it?
I'll start with the banner. Banner looks, The buildings are they're like generic PNG destroyed buildings. Well, not really destroyed either. They're just copy pasted images of buildings, I think. The red blood rain could use a bit more work. I don't know why Mechagodzilla's outlined glowing for some reason.
Oh.
And then Kumasogami looks kind of nice, but he also it's a bit off on the banner. And then the smoke and stuff is okay. Now, for the match itself, like it's not the best match. It's not the worst. It's like lower, like in the lower areas. Like this whole entire Kumasogami is a demon from hell thing, despite being, not a demon from hell at all. And then like the whole Kumasogami can now talk, which we can never do again. This was the only match where he talks, guys.
Well, I don't think that was actually Kumasogami, though. I think that was just like the Spectre of Evil or whatever. It was something different, I thought.
I thought that was Kumasogami talking.
No,
I thought it was either that or associated with the like the demons around, like the souls around him,
or something.
Like every
that.
time we absorb a soul, and so the assumption is maybe he's like Kaishin Muba in a way, where he's multiple souls.
Or maybe they're trying. Maybe it's supposed to be like GMK Godzilla, where like they took control of Kumasogami's body and then they're just absorbing souls to make themselves stronger or something like that.
Could be all of those things or none of those things. We'll never know.
Yeah.
The whole melting armor thing was a bit weird because if the armor is melting, Mechagodzilla's destroyed at that point. Because the moment the armor melted in the movie, like he got hit once with the beam that was melting his armor, and then died. Plus, like going out of molten rock would probably block up your like boosters and stuff. A beam that's like the full size of your mech is probably going to be problematic with the pushback, like the recoil against it. But then again, he shot a cannon and not a beam. I think that's it that I got. Now someone has to write a sequel match where Mechagodzilla's just in the hell for just there in hell, and then wakes up and starts destroying everything.
Great. Oh, great. Mechagodzilla in hell. Let's go.
I mean, that would have been I'm not sure. I don't think that was ever an intention, but that would have been a neat Easter egg in the Orga in hell. Have like Mechagodzilla's corpse.
That'd be fun. That'd actually be funny. Yeah, no. And if that's everything, this has been match 178, and we'll see you guys next time for match 179. Till then, folks.